'Tis I, never fear, Trevor Belmont is here to destroy evil monsters and all you hold dear. I will end your cruel necromancing. Actually, we were just dancing. Pete is too cute for me to finish that song. Anywho, no one wants to hear me finish that song. They want to hear us talk about Castlevania. By the way, there's a large chunk of people watching this review right now who have no idea what that song is that I was just opened with. So I'm going to pretend like it's an original thing that I just invented. So there. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
And that was not actually an original song. That is actually by the Game Grumps. But yeah, we are here to finally talk about Season 2 of Castlevania. All month long, you guys have been asking me if I was going to do a post-Shriek Out reaction on it. And yes, we're doing it. It's finally here. We have 3 days left until Halloween, so darn it, we're getting this out. I absolutely love Season 1 of Castlevania.
So did I.
Blew me the heck away. So I have been waiting and waiting on Season 2 to finally come out. And it's come out, and it's done. And, yeah, it's...
I liked it, but not as much as the first
I
season,
liked it as well, but there's, like, very clear things that I have to point at and be like, why did you decide to do that in this season? From what I'm seeing, most people love this season.
Yes.
They absolutely just were blown away by this season. They fall in love with the cast. They love all three of these characters together. They love all the new vampires they introduced. I want to be right there with you guys. And I want to make it clear, I didn't dislike this season. Still really liked it, but there are certain things in this season that I look at and I just think, it feels like you kind of wanted to do two things here, or you had one thing in mind, and then you made a huge shift at the end that kind of went against the plan that you had earlier established. But even with the plan that you had earlier established, there's little problems that I have in here that kind of just felt like, kind of obvious stuff in here. We're not going to do like we do with movie reviews where we give you the plot and everything, and then we save all the spoilery stuff for after we give you the score and everything, because this is on Netflix. If you have any way of watching this and you're interested in it, you've already watched it. So you're just basically here to know our thoughts on this season. And I'll just go ahead and say, when season 1 came out, I was kind of shocked that it was only 4 episodes. And then it just kind of ended there.
Yeah, like it felt like more like an intro or something.
Yeah, it felt like the prequel almost to it. But I later found out that this was actually a movie script that Warren Ellis wrote for a Castlevania film. And in his mind, what he wanted to do is he wanted to turn Castlevania into being like Lord of the Rings. And this was the first Lord of the Rings films, The Fellowship of the Ring, in which it was just all about them coming together. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then as I was watching season 2, and it got to that point where they're all now together, and they go to the library, and they're just there in the library the entire time. And then it just starts focusing very heavily on the villains, giving us villain origin stories, introducing each member of this clan of vampires, of the council of vampires. I looked at that and I went, oh, this is like Twin Towers. When they all of a sudden just introduce a bunch of new characters.
Yeah, the Two Towers.
Two Towers, sorry. And then they get into all of their backstories of the brand new characters they're introducing. And that's what this was meant to be. This was meant to be the middle portion in which, okay, we're going to introduce you to the villains, and the heroes are just going to kind of be off doing their own thing, but will be an opportunity for them to bond and for them to come together. So I didn't really have a problem while I was watching this of a large chunk of this season just being Trevor and Alucard and Sifa just in the library. I was actually okay with that because I went, that's what you're doing. This is entire season, it's just them bonding and learning the history of them, but also getting really in depth with the villains on this. But even then, I kind of had a problem because you introduced so many cool looking vampires in here.
Like vampires from all around the world.
I love that.
That's a great
You
concept.
can point at them and be like, they're from India, she's from Japan, this guy's from this place. I love the idea that there's just a council of vampires from all over the world. It was so cool. But you only really get in depth on 2 of them in here. And you get in depth, like really in depth on two other non-vampires in here.
Yeah.
And that was actually really cool. I love this idea that there's two humans who are working with the vampires.
Yeah, like they just hate the human race so much.
And they
it's
have
like,
their own unique reasons for it and their own backstories. And I love getting into each of their backstories and stuff. And design-wise, I think everybody on the Vampire Council is amazing. And there's such small details to each of them that really stood out. And one thing is that I noticed is that the humans, the two humans, they both have these giant neck collars that almost look like armor. And I was like, that's really smart. They're in a council of vampires. So Dracula's like, well, you don't want to become vampires. You want to remain humans. Here, wear these things to protect yourself. Like just two giant braces around their neck. So that way no vampire could attack them. Just very small little bits like that. We're so incredibly smart about this. So I really dug getting the origin of those two humans. And I also really like Godbrand, the Viking vampire. I thought he was really cool. Except I will say he was voiced by Peter Stormare, I believe. Man, I do not think he was the right choice for that voice. I love Peter Stormare, but that's a guy who was meant to play like weird kind of twitchy characters, not like a drunken brawler. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's so many lines that he delivers, and I was just like, it sounds like you didn't know where the correct inflection was supposed to go in there, which is kind of how Peter Stormare talks, and it's part of his charm, but doesn't work for this character.
Yeah, I kept thinking like John DiMaggio did the voice of the Scotsman from Samurai Jack. I think
feels like it, yeah.
Yeah, I think he should have been like a better choice.
Something like that, yeah. But then they also introduce this female vampire who we get a little bit of her backstory as well. And I thought that she was cool, except it felt kind of like a character that I've seen a dozen times over. Kind of felt like you're the Mystique of the group. Like the one who's like, okay, you're Magneto, I'm Mystique, this is kind of your dynamic. And I've seen that kind of character a lot. But I still thought she was cool. But there's so many other vampires in here. And it wasn't until almost the end of the series that it finally hit me. It's not so much that we didn't get backstories on each of them. It's that we didn't even get a voice. Mm-mm. None of them even... Like there's the moment when the...
I don't even think we got, like, their names.
I don't think so either. But there's that moment when the bridge is collapsing on them, and we just saw, like, one of them just... And I was like, why aren't you fucking making a sound? And that's when it really hit me. That's why they seem so flat. All they are is just a design. That is all that they are. Like, we didn't get, like, anything on them. Even down to them not having voice actors. And that drove me fucking nuts. That I was like, I understand it's expensive to hire on voice actors, but... God damn, you can't get like somebody for like a line or two in here? You can't get like some unknown actor to come in for this thing who could do it for scale? It drove me nuts that you have such cool looking characters in here and they're like making no sounds at all. Like literally, I think only one of them in the not final episode, but the next to final episode, she finally goes, yeah, as she's charging in. That out of like 5 uniquely designed vampires is the only line any of them has in this entire 8 episode run. That drove me fucking nuts. Because at the end of this thing, when you've got the 3 heroes who you have been following this whole time going up against Dracula's very special guards and their super powered and super creative design characters, and we've seen how powerful they are, it didn't really felt special to me because I don't know anything about these characters. I don't know anything about them. They have literally zero personality to them. We don't know any of their special fighting techniques or anything. The only one of them who did have anything, there's only 2 of them who do really have anything to them, and one of them is killed early on, and the other one just abandons and leaves. So, yeah, it was like them just fighting, like, random fodder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had, like, nothing to it. So that is one big problem that I have with this. But the other big problem that I had with this season was that, as I said, I was watching this and I was like, okay, I get what you're doing. It's our heroes and they're separated for a while. They're building up. They're getting ready to take on Dracula and that's going to be the next season. And then at the very end of this, they go, time to take on Dracula. I was like, no. We haven't gotten nearly the bonding time between you guys that we need. We haven't gotten all the backstory that we need on the villains. We still have so much more that needed to be done in the middle part of your trilogy that you have very clearly planned here. And we needed like season 3 to just be them taking on Dracula. That needed to be all of season 3. And no, man, it's like, nope, it's here. It's happening right now.
Like, that's the thing is like, I feel like this wasn't paced very well.
No, it feels to me like it was paced well at the start, and then someone came in and said, hold on, you're gonna have a whole season and they don't fight Dracula in here? We gave you 8 more episodes we gave you 8 episodes compared to the 4 from last season, and you're still not gonna give us Dracula? They gotta fight Dracula at the end of this thing. It feels like someone came in here and just like slapped whatever plans they had just out of their hands, but didn't let them go back and rework the previous stuff that they had already done to accommodate for them having to now change their plans completely. It really does feel like just a huge monkey wrench was thrown into whatever plan they had on this thing.
Like, I just felt like, this is probably just like my personal opinion, but it's like, I didn't feel like there was a lot of action going on, not enough, because... I get it. They want to establish the villains and the main trio, but
which to me would be fine if this was the middle part of a trilogy. It's like, okay, this is the sitting around and talking part. And then, like, at the very end, we get, like, one fight against one of the superpowers.
Yeah, but I meant, like, maybe have some backstory, have them fight some random demons, then back and forth between
have the vampires, like, fight themselves a little bit
maybe,
in here.
yeah, like, because, like there's definitely, like, some corruption going on in the council. It's like, oh, someone's gonna, like...
betray someone?
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, there was that part in which we keep seeing that new female vampire, and she's definitely, like, from the start, this is another problem I had with that character. From the second she walks into his court, it is very clear, I'm gonna betray this motherfucker. I am my sights down. And she doesn't even really try and hide it. And Dracula's just like, whatever. Fine.
That was Dracula's mood throughout the entire thing. He was just, whatever.
That was another problem that I had with this. It's that in season 1, they built him up so much as, like, this big, intimidating, like, I will destroy all of mankind. It's like, I don't give a shit about anything. Just as long as man dies, that's all that I care about.
It's like,
and it makes him an interesting character. It does. It absolutely does make him an interesting character. But for the big build-up to, like, this is the villain we're going up against at the end, it kind of downplays that.
Yeah, it's like, I get it. He's heartbroken because he lost his wife, and that's all the reason why this war is being raged. But it's like, maybe have some passion for what you're doing. Like, I don't...
In season 1, like, you actually kind of understood why Dracula was doing all this terrible shit, because, like, man, yeah, look at what man did to your wife. And then in this one, yeah, he's sad about it, and I understand that. It's great to see that part of him, but where was the fire and passion that you had in season 1? It kind of made it so that when our heroes had to fight Dracula, I didn't really root anybody on in this thing.
Yeah, it's like, you're just beating up a sad old man.
They flat out say, this is the world's longest suicide, and it's like, you could do that. You could absolutely do that. It makes it very fascinating. It makes it such an interesting thing to do with his character. But you could do that and have it be more of like, this is the reveal at the end when Alucard confronts him that it's like, I know why you're doing this. You actually want to die. And then it's like, oh my god, that's the big reveal to the audience that this is what... Dracula was just sad the entire time, you guys. Oh my... You see? You go back and you look at it all. That's not playing. Instead, it's just... whatever. I'm just going to sit in front of my fireplace here. This lady is clearly trying to betray me and just badmouth my wife in front of the entire council, and she'll come in here and talk to me in front of the fireplace like everyone talks to me in front of the fireplace. I'm just gonna sit here and contemplate my own sadness. And again, this idea that Dracula knows he can't win and he's just doing this so that someone will come and kill him, it's great as part of his character. But again, it makes it kind of a boring-ass lead-up to the fight.
Yeah.
It should be the big, like, kind of reveal when Alucard is confronting his dad there at the end. And speaking of Alucard, at the very end of this, in the final episode, when they're all having, like, the epilogue, and you're just seeing what happened to everybody after the confrontation with Dracula, there's that moment in which Alucard is sitting there in his old room, and he sees, like, his younger childhood self run across, and he starts crying. And I thought, this should have been an entire episode. Mm-hmm. We needed an entire episode of a flashback to Alucard growing up. That is what we needed, and it is stunning to me that they planned out like 8 fucking episodes on this thing. And again, I can't even blame them that much, because it feels like maybe they did have this plan. Because we had 5 episodes of like the build-up, 5 episodes of introducing the villain vampires, 5 episodes of them in the library and getting a little bit on Simon's Pass and getting a little bit of interactions between each of them. and this was going to be 8 episodes long. So I fully believe they had like 3 more episodes planned of just the build-up to season 3.
And I would have been totally happy with that.
I would have been too. I understand. I understand why someone at Netflix who's footing the bill for this thing might have looked at it and went, hold on, wait, no. Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. I understand why you as the guy who's writing the check would have that concern of like, I paid for you to fight Dracula, where is Dracula? But yeah, man, you totally fucked them over on this thing. That's absolutely what this feels like to me.
Yeah, it's like there needs to be more build-up so the final battle could be more intense. And
yeah.
It just wasn't. It just felt rushed at the end.
It's so
like it should.
They literally had to teleport the castle right to them because it was like, oh, we don't have time to get to them. And man, when you think about the games of Castlevania and how it's nothing but going through Dracula's castle, I kept thinking, how great would a full season 3 of this have been? Even if season 3 was just 4 episodes, like season 1. Of just them going through Dracula's castle. Mm-hmm. How great would that have been? All the different monsters they could have gone up against. All the different vampires that we could have seen them fight in there, which they were building up in this. Man, it really drove me absolutely nuts.
Yeah, but it's like I get it, like Dracula's like the big baddie and everything, but at the same time, it's like there are other villains in the Castlevania games, and also there are other Belmonts in the Castlevania games.
There's
so it's
kind of other villains.
Yeah. But
there are other Belmonts, but they all kind of just fight Dracula.
Yes, but like I was just thinking, like maybe the reason why they wanted to like defeat Dracula is because they wanted to like move on to the next Belmont.
At the end of this, I kind of got that feeling. Because at the end of this, what's-her-face, the female vampire, I'm sorry for constantly just referring to her as that.
But that's kind of who she is.
I can't remember who she is. Yeah, at the end of this, she takes one of the alchemists, one of the necromancers, forgers, or whatever they're called. And he's now just kidnapped with her, and she's off to do her own thing. And then you see Trevor and Seifer going off to do their own thing as Alucard is just there stuck in his castle just with his memories. And I had thought of, okay, well, you totally just set up Seifer and Trevor are now an item. Like, you can come in here and say, well, they never actually say this. Man, she is resting her head on his shoulder, and she's like, you can be with me forever. It's like, man, they're a thing. Mm-hmm. They're an item. It's totally happening. So I would not be shocked if they're like, all right, we got another season in here, and in this season, it's 40 years in the future.
Yeah.
Or not even that, just like 30 years in the future.
Yeah, it's like,
and we're now dealing with, I don't know the family tree because those games go all over the goddamn place, but it's now Trevor, it's now Richter, because Richter ended up teaming up with Alucard as well. So you could totally end up doing that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they were like, okay, well we gotta move this along so that way we can get on to the next generation.
Because they did mention Leon Belmont.
Yes, who I do know was the if you go in whatever the weird ass order of these games chronologically, his is the earliest. He's like the first one to actually encounter Dracula. So yeah, they did mention that, and then when you actually see the portrait of Leon, I was like, that's Leon Belmont. They redesigned Alucard looks like he does in the game, but they redesigned Trevor just a smidge in here, but that's flat out Leon Belmont. So yeah, maybe that's what they have planned, but yeah, this really just felt to me like they rushed this so much so that way we didn't get the impact, we didn't get enough character in there with all the supporting vampires. And also, I'll say, the show still looks good.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
But it kind of feels to me like they gave them the exact same budget for 8 episodes as either the exact same budget or the exact same time for 8 episodes that they gave them for 4 last season. Because it still looks good, but it doesn't look as good as the previous season. And there are definitely some moments in here where you can tell that the budget kind of dropped a little bit. Like the first episode where they have to fight those monsters that attack them at the campsite looks amazing. Not the final episode, but the next to final episode where they're fighting Dracula, I think that looks damn cool as well. I also like the fight scene with
you notice that they put most of the money in the fight scenes, which is where it should go.
But there's definitely moments in here that in the previous season, even them just staying around talking looked dynamic and the lighting was fantastic. And here, it's a little bit more muted.
Yeah,
they're a little bit rougher around the
yeah.
edges sometimes.
Like, they feel very kind of flat and just, like, mostly their mouth is just doing moving.
I noticed a lot of moments like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a little bit cheaper than season 1, and I know, again, people are applying this so much, but this really does feel like they rushed over important stuff that they need to do in here, and it feels like rather than a Netflix guy coming in here and telling them, all right, you have to have them fight Dracula by the end of this, because I feel like if they had known that beforehand, they would be like, well, here's the episode dedicated to Alucard. Here's the episode where we just focus on these characters bonding. Mm-hmm. Here's the one episode we get for the villain guys. Bam, done. It feels like instead they had a whole season mapped out where they never even fought Dracula.
Yeah.
And then at the end they said, no, you gotta fight Dracula. What is this? And no, you don't have time to go back and rewrite everything. Yeah, it really feels like that's how this played out. Mm-hmm. And it really did kind of make me mad at the end when you see Alucard just crying there, looking at the ghost of his younger self, because that is such an emotional moment. But it would have been so much more if we knew squat about what that meant, about like what were his happy memories there. And the same thing kind of goes for Dracula when he is fighting Alucard. And there comes that moment, and don't get me wrong, even though I think that this is hurt by the fact that it was rushed and that they didn't get to build this up, I still think that the voice actor playing Dracula freaking nailed this moment. The moment in which he like throws Alucard into his old room and he just goes, this is your old room. I'm killing my boy. The one thing that you gave me, I'm killing it. Like, that is an amazing read. It's so emotional. That actor nails it. But just speaking in terms of the story, yeah, man, we never saw this room up until this moment. Mm-hmm. There's a portrait of Dracula and his wife and Alucard as a little boy. We see a painting there of them. We never even saw them together or interacting. Like, was there even like a flashback of Alucard with his mom? Like, he talks about his mom, about like the lessons that his mom taught him, but we never see like a flashback of that or anything.
Like, I think it was like one of the ghosts, like he saw his little kid self and then like his mom ran up to hug him or something. But I was like, it was so quick.
But no, I mean before that, before the moment where Dracula actually is like, this is the one thing, we painted this room together, we made these toys together. It's like, that would have been nice to see. That would have been real nice to see, like, even, like, just one, like, quick, like, flash, like, a little montage of Dracula, like, holding his son's hand, or, like, Dracula reading his son a story, like, something like that. Like, we had so many episodes up until this moment that you could have put something like that in there, and there's nothing, and it drives me freaking nuts. But, yeah, it does really feel like this show, and I'm not, like, criticizing the people who made this show, because it really does feel like a producer came in and just changed their plans at the end. That's exactly what this feels like to me. And, again, I want to say I like it, but I have problems with the decisions that were made in this. But, again, I don't feel like those decisions were theirs. Mm-hmm. But speaking of things that I like in here, I love the interactions between Trevor and Alucard. Mm-hmm. I love how they just very casually tell each other to go fuck off. Mm-hmm. Because they tell each other in that way that's like, you two are going to be good friends.
Yeah.
You two are going to be good friends. Sifa in season 1, I said that I kind of didn't think she was that good of a voice actress. Like, she kind of has, like, the Peter Stormare syndrome in this season, where in the first season, she would be putting inflection on very weird words to put inflection on. But this season, she felt great.
Yeah, like maybe she had more practice.
I think, voice acting is very different from physical acting.
It is.
So I think that, she had time to train over the course of last season and this season. So, yeah, it absolutely paid off. I think that she was great in this season. Alucard, we didn't get a lot of time with him in the last season. We only got one episode with him, but I really liked him as a character, or at least the actor in this. I love the idea of the Belmont secret mansion.
And secret library.
The secret library. And I love getting the little bits of backstory on Trevor. Like I said, we need way more of that. We needed to get backstory on Trevor, we got some, but we needed some on Alucard, and we needed to see like them actually interacting more, because a lot of them this season was Sifa looking through a book and then going over to one character and saying something. Next episode, Sifa's looking through a book, goes over to another character and says something. Yeah, we need a little bit more of like just random confrontation between each character.
Yeah.
We need to see, like, maybe, like, them sitting down to, like, have a meal. Like, how are they eating while they're in this area here? Like,
they probably went hunting or
but
something.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, give us, like, an episode where, like, Sifa has to say, and they're like, well, I'm starving, and Alucard needs to stretch his legs, so Trevor and Alucard go out hunting for some food. We need more moments of bonding that wasn't just, I'm going to walk over and say something to Alucard. I'm going to keep reading this book, and now I'm saying something to Trevor. We need a little bit more variety in there.
I felt the same way.
Yeah. The library itself is great. And I did really dig the little bits of the backstory that we got in Trevor in here. It actually does make him such a better character in here. I liked his character in the first one, but he kept kind of like referencing what had happened to the Belmonts, and it was good to actually hear more about that in this season. And speaking of the characters' backstories, I flat out love the two humans that are working.
Oh, yeah.
They are great. But again, for the people who are wondering why I'm being so harsh on, how it handled Alucard and Sifa and Trevor this season, especially how it handled Alucard this season, look at what it did for these two random humans who I don't even think are in the games at all, and they were created just for this. Look at how much you get on the backstories of them. Look at how much you get in the way of flashbacks, how much you get in terms of their motivation. And they're not even really, in the grand scheme of things, all that important to the overall story.
Yeah, I mean, Dracula counted them as, you're in charge of the battle, do whatever.
And then what battle?
Yeah, exactly.
What battle?
Yeah.
One of them is a pawn to be used by Lady Vampire. Again, sorry, that's just why I keep referring to her as. And then the other one, what was his name?
Isaac?
Yes.
Isaac or something like that?
It's Isaac, yes.
Yeah.
That dude, his interaction with Dracula was so good. And what it led up to was Dracula just like, goodbye, Isaac. And it's a very emotional thing for the villains, but we're supposed to kind of be following the heroes over here. And it really, that's one of the things that made me go, this was supposed to be a season that had nothing to do with the fight with Dracula. This was supposed to be the in-between season.
Right.
Because Isaac would have had such big stuff to do in season 3. He would have had such a big thing going on with him. And at the end of this, they do kind of hint okay, maybe he'll be the villain of season 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is cool. I dig that they're setting up future villains for this thing. But again, we kind of came here for the fight with Dracula, and it kind of feels like, okay, it feels like they, at the end, set up what was going on with Isaac, and they set up what was going on with Hector, I think his name was. And,
something like that, yeah.
And the betrayal vampire. I'll just call her that from now on. It feels like they put those two scenes in the final episode just so they could go, just in case we get a season 3, we can still work on stuff. We can still do some stuff here. But yeah, I would far rather have been the villain. If you have to have them fight someone, have them fight Isaac and have him be the big villain of season 2, or have them fight the other vampire. Have them fight Godbrand this season. Godbrand is screw all this sitting around stuff. I'm just gonna go out there and find the humans my own. Have them fight him and 2 other vampires in here. And you had so many other villains that you could have, if you needed a fight to happen this season, it could have been that. But no, all right, nothing. I mean, the fight I thought actually did look cool. I did enjoy, the big battle against all the other vampires. I saw someone on Twitter saying that they had to make a GIF of Trevor spinning his whip around, and he just captures one frame and goes, this was on screen for 1/12 of a second, and so detailed and beautiful looking that, again, a lot of this season looks cheaper than the previous season, but you can definitely tell they still put their money into that. I saw the Castlevania Twitter feed actually said that they finished this show a week before it came on.
Wow.
Because it's not like they didn't have something done, but they were we're going to keep making this as good as possible until the second they tell us you can't keep working on this. I respect the hell out of them for doing that.
Absolutely.
But, so again, I want to make it clear. The problems I have with this, I am not pointing at the people who made this show and saying, well, you guys clearly got lazy this season. No, they didn't. I just kind of feel like this really feels like Netflix came in here and just screwed them over.
Yeah.
I would love to just sit down and talk with these guys, because it really feels to me like this was not what they had planned at all. And I'd be very interested to know what originally was going to happen this season. But yeah, so I did like this. I did like Trevor and Alucard and Sifa, but we really did not get enough of them, especially of Alucard. The villains who we get introduced to are amazing, but there's like 5 other villains right over there that you took the time to design, and I'm not saying you gotta give each of them a backstory, but for God's sakes, a voice actor. That's all I'm asking for. Give them a line here or there. It drove me nuts that there were so many shots of them, like, reacting with no sound coming out of their mouth. That drove me insane this season. And you hire so many actors to come in here for, like, one line here or there as, like, townspeople.
Yeah.
You can't have them stick around and do, like, 2 more lines for, like, random vampire dude over there. God, it drove me nuts. And also, Dracula. Yeah, this whole, like, he's actually trying to destroy the world, not to get revenge, but so that someone will kill him because he's so sad. That's an amazing thing for his character. But that should be, like, a reveal that happens at the end that makes us go, oh no, poor Dracula, instead of, like, oh, hey man, you gonna sit in your chair all day today again? And, wow, she really just shit-talked the hell out of you out there in front of all your generals and stuff, and you're gonna be sad about that some more. All right, okay. I guess having you stand up and walk would have required more time animating you that they did, that they weren't given. There just wasn't money in the budget for Dracula walking. Yeah, man, I do like this. I do, but I can't not call it a disappointment. I can't. And I know people are going to be mad at me about that. I know people are going to say, oh, well, you just wanted the thing that you had envisioned in your mind. It's like, no, I wanted what very clearly seemed like they envisioned. I mean, you don't design 5 unique-looking vampires, and then when you're doing that, you think to yourself, and we will never have them talk. Ever. At all. We won't have anything happen with it. None. They're just going to be there to be chopped down by a whip. It's like, yeah, no one does that. And also just, yeah, again, I was okay with them just hanging out in the library because I looked at that and I was like, it's very clear what you're planning. Oh, this very clearly was not what you were planning. Oh, nuts. So yeah, man, if you love this and, wow, that was a heavy-ass door that just slammed behind us. If you love this and you don't see any problems with it and you think this is amazing and great, perfect, wonderful. I'm so glad that you like that, but man, yeah, I just see huge problems in this season, and it is a disappointment to me.
Yeah.
But still liked it. Still liked it.
Are you gonna give it like a rating or not?
No, for TV shows, it's too. I can't really do ratings because then it's like episode by episode kind of thing,
or like season by season or something like that.
Yeah, it's too weird to rate TV shows. Plus, you've made it this far in this thing, you already know what I think. Yeah, the ratings are more just there so that the people who haven't seen the thing will go, well, that's what he thought of it, so that will kind of give me an idea of whether or not it's worth my time. But again, we just went full spoilers on this thing, because if you have Netflix and you are interested in watching this, you've already watched it. So, there you go. I don't know, unless you want to give it a score.
Well, I say I'd probably like give it like 7.5.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe an 8, I don't know. But I definitely would give the first season a 9.
I was just saying, first season is definitely a 9, yeah. And yeah, if I had to give it a score, I'd be at a 7.5 as well. But I think it is still a testament to the people who made this and how much dedication they put into this and all the stuff that is good here. That, yeah, with how clearly this thing kind of got fucked over in this, it still pulled out something that good. So yeah, still gotta give them points on that. But yeah, so that was it. Those were our thoughts on Castlevania Season 2. If you want to hear us talk about more spooky Netflix shows, then make sure to come back tomorrow, because we've got another one planned for you guys. Happy Halloween.
Bye.